Did Ja Morant get Taylor Jenkins fired? Plus, the Mavs are suddenly getting healthier, what that means in the Western Conference. But first, the worst flop of the season. And finally, hallelujah, it has happened. I'm Trevor Lane. This is the Basketball Bulletin. Make sure you subscribe right here to the channel right now. Looked at the numbers. About 70% of you watching the channel are not subscribed. So hit that subscribe button. All right, take a look at this. This is last night's Lakers-Grizz game. Jaren Jackson Jr., you caught it right there. Don't worry, there'll be a replay. Falls to the floor, no contact. Here it is. Great play, by the way, by Jaren Jackson. Verticality there on LeBron. Jared Vanderbilt gets the rebound. Triple J says, get out. Phenomenal play. Now watch this. Watch this. Here he goes to close out. Knows he's not going to get there. Sniper. Sniper in the building. Jaren Jackson goes down. No contact. And the referees fall for it. The refs fell for it. The Lakers had to review. But here's what I love. I love this. Listen to the referee.
Jackson falls to the floor in a manner that's not commensurate with the contact from James. Therefore, the play has been overturned to a no call.
Okay, great. So first and foremost, it's no call. But this is important. We need more of this right here.
Jackson's reaction is both theatrical and secondary. Therefore, a flop has been added on Jackson. That is a technical foul. The Lakers will shoot a free throw.
Yes. And this is not because it benefited the Lakers, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. No. They're the NBA enforcing a flopping rule. Thank you. More of this, please. And you know what? I get it. They were able to enforce this one specifically because it was a review. They actually got to go and look at a replay. That mattered. They got to look at the replay. Live, Jackson fooled them. And this is why players do this. Jackson fooled the officials, and they were going to get the call. The Lakers had to burn a challenge in order to get the officials to look at it. But I love that once they did look at it, they went, oh, yeah, there wasn't even any contact there. There was no reason for him to fall down. And so that's a technical foul. Now, I will say, and by the way, the NBA, they instituted their new anti-flopping policies and all that some time ago. But as we know, what tends to happen in the NBA is they create these new rules, they enforce them for a little bit, and then about midway point of the season, they fall by the wayside. Well, that seems to be the thing again with flopping, and now they're not getting enforced. That's why I love this. First of all, on the review, they saw it, and there's the technical foul. I get you're not going to catch it live all the time, but there's no reason why we can't catch this after the fact. There's no reason. The reason why the refs caught this, look, these players are very, very good. They're very fast. They're very strong. It's hard to tell when there's really contact and when there's not. It's not an easy job being an official. But when we have the benefit of review, when we have the benefit of replay, this needs to be a more consistent thing where flopping is enforced. Again, I don't expect every ref to catch it live. I don't think that's realistic. I know it's frustrating when we at home can see it on the replay, but we're not going to expect every single ref to catch it live. But after the fact, can the NBA enforce their anti-flopping rules better? Absolutely. Absolutely, we can enforce these better. We should be able to, with the benefit of review and replay, be able to more consistently hand out fines. And you know what? Make it public. Keep it a public thing. And if it's done more consistently, less players are going to flop because they're going to know, number one, not only is there a good chance I'm going to lose some money for doing this, right? But number two, it's going to be made public that I'm flopping. And again, it does happen from time to time. It's rare that we see like this situation here with Triple J, that it actually happened in a game, got caught in a game, and the opposing team got a technical free throw. Would love to see more of that, but I understand that's difficult. But we should be able to at least enforce this after the fact and try to cut down on flopping, which I think we all agree is not a good look for the league when you've got players just falling to the floor to try to get a call. And honestly, I know the NBA will push back and they say, well, what technically is a flop? They said it was secondary and it was theatrical, right? All of that. It's got to be a secondary thing. After the contact occurs, then you make another motion and all of that. They've got some very strict rules. I would soften those a little bit. I get when players fall. I think there's a difference here. There's two different things. If a player like Jaren Jackson there pretends there's contact when there's not, it's a different situation than when a player doesn't fight to stay on their feet in order to draw attention to the contact that was there. I think those are two very different things. So in Jaren Jackson Jr.'s case, he pretended there was contact there that did not exist, and just fell down on his own in order to try to fool the officials. we know if you're trying to get a charge call, you're probably not going to get the call, and probably it's going to be a foul against you unless you fall down. Unless the other guy just Derrick Henry style straight arms you, and even that's being allowed more and more in today's NBA. The push off, the Tatum is being used a lot in today's NBA, but still, there's a difference there between I'm trying to draw a charge and there's real contact and I'm not going to fight to stay on my feet compared to I'm going to pretend there's contact where there's not. And I think the latter, pretending there's contact where there's not, is something we should be able to enforce more consistently after the fact and hopefully get it out of the game because we know nobody wants it there. All right. Did Ja Morant get Taylor Jenkins fired? So I was actually in Memphis last night for Lakers Grizzlies, was able to cover that game. And Thomas Lasolo, the new head coach of the Grizzlies, talked a little bit about how surprised he was. He said he was shocked when he heard the news that he was going to become the new interim head coach of the Grizzlies. But there was buzz, there were rumors. I heard from people in Memphis like, yeah, this is Taylor Jenkins lost the team, but what that really means is he lost Ja. Now, the Athletic reported Ja Morant remained supportive of Taylor Jenkins until his dismissal, but Morant had complained about the Grizzlies' new offensive scheme installed this season, taking the ball out of his hands and using less frequent on-ball schemes. That was something that Lasolo was asked about before the game, if he was going to use more pick and roll. Lakers coach JJ Redick even said the same thing, said we're expecting more pick and roll out of them. That was Ja's big complaint, was that the ball was being taken out of his hands. He wasn't running that high pick and roll, which is part of what allows Ja Morant to be Ja Morant, right? He's an insane burst athlete. You give him a little bit of space from a halfway decent screen, and he's gone. So pick and roll situations are going to be his bread and butter, and the Grizz weren't doing that enough. But this was from The Athletic talking about Ja, by the way, who missed 6 games, returned to play the Lakers, which is apparently a thing. JJ Redick talked about it before the game. Some days he looks like he's ready to play. Some days he looks like he doesn't want to be there because he hates the offense. Now, the future of Ja Morant with the Grizzlies is uncertain, despite the pushback from GM Zach Kleiman publicly against the possibility of him trading him. And according to 2 executives, the demand for Morant on the trade market could be limited. Also, the assistant coach, who was the driving force, Nate LaRoche, who was the assistant coach, the driving force behind the new Memphis offense, was also fired with Jenkins. So clearly there's more to this than just the Grizzlies were playing bad basketball. And they were. They have not beaten above 500 teams since the beginning of February. They have not been playing good basketball heading into the postseason. But obviously, this is a real decision on the Grizz part to commit to, we're going to make this work with Ja Morant. He's due for an extension this summer. We need to make a big decision on that, figure out what that's going to look like or not look like. Do we potentially put him on the trade block? Do we decide we need to tear this whole thing down and move on to something else? There's some big decisions that have to come here in Memphis. And in addition to Jaren Jackson Jr., the flop culprit there, Jaren Jackson Jr., he's due for an extension this summer as well. And should he win Defensive Player of the Year, which maybe he will, he could, now that Victor Wembanyama is injured, he could be eligible for a Supermax. So that'll be something to watch in Memphis as well. But clearly things were not working with Taylor Jenkins. But this is also a move, I think, to, despite Ja, he may like Taylor Jenkins and he may support him and all that, but clearly he was not happy with the offense. This is a move in favor of Ja Morant with the Grizzlies. And should they put him on the market, what would the market look like? Well, he's making $39 million, almost $40 million next season. I'm sure a lot of teams would love to have Ja Morant, but also you look around the NBA, how many teams badly need a star level point guard right now? And how many, and would it even be a good team that he would even want to go to? Would it be like, would a Brooklyn Nets be really interested in getting Ja Morant and building around him? Maybe. But does Ja want to do that? Does he want to go into that situation versus having Jaren Jackson, having Des Bane, having all the players that he's already got in Memphis? Is that really what Ja wants to do? So I think this is going to be really important. The remaining 8 games here for Memphis, obviously they move on from Taylor Jenkins. And as much as the team's performance recently is part of it, the fact that, you know, the Ja was not happy with the offense, obviously that matters as well. It's also interesting that as soon as Jenkins gets fired, suddenly Ja's hamstring is okay. Now, again, he had been healing up and everything and could very well just be coincidence. So don't hear what I'm not saying. Just it raised some eyebrows around the NBA that Taylor Jenkins gets fired and suddenly Jaw's healthy to play. Again, could be coincidence, but maybe not. Now, speaking of health, according to Mark Stein, Derek Lively II, Daniel Gafford, not expected to play. This was last night against Chicago, but they're both on course to return from injury next week. Next week, they're coming back. Suddenly, you look at the standings, the Dallas Mavericks have moved up. They're not even the 10 seed anymore. And oh God, Sacramento is now the 10 seed. The Mavs have moved up. They've got Anthony Davis back. The Mavs are now the 9. They've moved in the 9. It was, are the Mavs going to cede their position to Phoenix? Now Phoenix is praying they can catch Sacramento because the Mavs have moved up to the 9 seed and the Mavs are getting their 2 bigs back. Suddenly, the Dallas Mavericks, well, I'm not expecting them to go. I'm not expecting them to get out of the play-in. But suddenly, the Phoenix Suns were thinking, hey, we're going to fall backwards into the playoffs because the Mavs are falling to pieces. Now Anthony Davis is back. Now they're going to bring back Daniel Gafford. Now they're going to bring back Derek Lively. And you got to be thinking, the Mavs could actually do that. I mean, I wouldn't put it past them. I wouldn't make them the favorite. But I would think the Mavs with AD, with their 2 bigs, would have a good shot at beating Sacramento in the 9-10 matchup, especially if they're at home. And it wouldn't be impossible for them to survive, say, the Timberwolves or something like that. I wouldn't make them the favorite, but they could. They could. The Mavs could wind up in the playoffs. So this is a big deal because obviously losing Kyrie hurts and hurts a lot, and it's going to hurt the overall upside of this team, the ability of this team to win basketball games without Kyrie. It's very difficult. But the big piece of what the Mavs were trying to build was putting together AD, Daniel Gafford, and Derek Lively, having that 3 big rotation, having a size advantage over basically everybody they're going to play. And we saw it in their first game with all 3 of them on the floor. And then since they didn't even survive a full game together. But if those 3 can stay healthy, the Mavs suddenly become a much more dangerous team. So this, I think, is a big deal for Dallas moving up in the standings, but also a big blow to the Phoenix Suns, who, if we look, right now have the most difficult remaining strength of schedule still in the NBA. I mean, my God, there's not that many games left. Boy, how big is that Sacramento Phoenix game that's left going to be? That may decide right there, the 10 seed. But OKC, Boston, Houston, New York, Golden State, Milwaukee. I wouldn't make Phoenix the favorite in any of those games. Now, maybe Boston rest guys, maybe OKC rest guys. That's possible. But yikes, that's tough. And then we go, where are the Dallas Mavericks? We're moving up. Where are the Sacramento Kings? Sacramento, 14th most difficult remaining strength of schedule. It's funny. Their game against the Suns is one of the easy ones there. And then Dallas, 15th. So significantly easier schedules for Sacramento and Dallas compared to the Phoenix Suns. So the Suns, it is not a guarantee at all that they're going to make the postseason. And the Mavs return to health. Obviously, that's bad news for Phoenix. That's not good. Is it even good news for the Mavs, though? Let's talk about that. So take a look. If the draft lottery were to be held today, the Mavs would have the 14th pick if it stayed chalk, a 0.5% chance at the number 1 pick at Cooper Flag, and a 2.4% chance of going top 4. So obviously not likely to go top 4 or anything like that. But do the Mavs even want to make the play-in? I mean, in theory, they could have bottomed out. They could have gotten to 12th, probably. I don't know if they could have caught the Miami Heat. That would have been tough. 33 wins for Miami. Is Miami going to win 4 more games? That's again a challenge for Miami there. But could the Dallas Mavericks have dropped at least to 12 and had a 7% chance at going top 4 and a 1.5% chance at the number 1 overall pick? You know what? Look, I get it. If you're Dallas, things have been so bad, right? Ever since the Luka trade, everybody's been so down. If you have an opportunity to win, if you have an opportunity to change opinions and make people think, maybe there is something here with this group, then I think they would welcome that. I think they would welcome that to get some positivity around the team. But I'll tell you what, if the 12 pick, which right now would go to Houston, somehow jumps up to number 1 or something, the Mavs would be maybe kicking themselves for not having those lottery combinations that they would have had they just tanked. So I don't blame Dallas. It's not like they're dropping from a 75% chance of the number one pick to a 1% or something like that. We're talking about single-digit percentage change here. But nonetheless, the Mavs, their success recently and moving up in the standings does hurt their potential draft hopes. So, but again, Dallas, suddenly the 9 seed in the West, and they are anti-taking. By the way, we need to talk more about this at some point. What are the Raptors doing? What are the Toronto Raptors doing? They're not going to make the play-in. They're way behind. They're too far behind to make the play-in. But man, they are messing up their draft pick. It's funny though, is we talk about anti-tanking rules, but then get mad at teams when they do tank too much. Like people are mad at Utah for what they've done, tanking. They're sitting a bunch of players out and all of that. They even got fined this year by the NBA. But then we look at the Raptors, and the Raptors are winning. They've won 3 in a row, and everybody's like, what the hell are they doing? You need to lose, but only lose a certain way. We're going to be mad at you if you lose by resting players, but if you win games, we're also going to be mad at you. So, I don't know. Fine line, I suppose. But right now, Philadelphia happy because they have the 5th best lottery odds currently. And remember, their pick is only top 6 protected. So they needed the Raptors to go on a run. They need the Brooklyn Nets to go on a run. Right now, both the Brooklyn Nets and the Philadelphia 76ers tied in the loss column, but Philly with 1 less win. So Philly's lost 7 in a row. If Philly can find a way to not win any more games, that will guarantee that it guarantees that they would finish at worst 5th in the lottery standings, which do matter. Again, it's not so much they've got a 37% chance at top 4. I'm sorry, 42% chance at top 4, 10%, 10.5% chance at number 1. But it also means if you're 5 instead of say 6, remember if it's anything higher than 6, they lose their pick. It goes to OKC. If let's say, I don't know, San Antonio. Oh God, that would be awful. Let's say, I don't know, Miami jumps up to number 1. That would bump you back 1 spot. So if you are the 5 instead of the 6, it at least protects you against one of these teams, 7 through 14, jumping up. It protects you in that event. Because then at worst you would still get 6th if one team jumps up. Now, if 2 teams jumps up, then all bets are off unless the Sixers also jump up as well. Okay, so Mavs getting healthier, the worst flop of the season, and Ja Morant maybe a factor in the firing of Taylor Jenkins. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. And again, don't forget to subscribe right here to the channel. Till next time, everybody. See ya and stay safe.